been a lot of mental stress and
Yes.
strain with this virus, with all kinds of stuff, and but no, I'm so glad. I'm not part of that.
Yeah.
But one thing, in education, the time flies by. Don't you think?
Oh,
Because everything is programmed, scheduled, this and that, and then it's just
But I also think, Bob, the older you get, I never believed that old adage. When people would tell me that, I believe it now. I mean, time does fly.
Monday, Friday, Monday, Friday.
yeah, it does.
That's all it-
There-
yep.
There's an acceleration in time. There's,
Yep.
so I know. What, you got 9 o'clock? Okay. Good morning, everyone. We've got 9 o'clock, so why don't we start the RDC meeting? Of course, Tim was called away at the last minute, and he asked me to chair the meeting, so I'm very happy to do that. I'll try not to do anything wild and crazy, okay? So we'll start the meeting. First thing, let's ensure that we have a quorum. And Cheryl, roll call, please.
Sure. Mr. Slayton?
Here.
Mr. Blinn?
Here.
Mr. Parsley?
Here.
Mr. Smith and Mr. McNeese both informed me they were unable to attend today.
So we have a quorum, we can conduct business. Next thing, our agenda. Looked at the agenda. Are there any changes or alterations you'd like to make to the agenda?
I move we accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Agenda is accepted. Now we're moving on to the financial report. We've been, of course, we received that by email, and we also have a copy in front of us. I presume everyone has looked through the report. Are there any questions or comments about the report that need to be raised?
Only change is the claims.
Oh, well, yes. Do we do that now or when we go to approve claims? Don't we do that later?
Later, okay.
Yeah. We'll approve, if there's an alteration to claims, we'll do that when we get to that item on the agenda. But other than that, is the financial report acceptable?
I'll move that we accept the financial report as presented.
Been
I'll
moved,
the motion.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Financial report is approved. We have next on the agenda the minutes, and I've been told that there was an oversight on the October minutes. We forgot to approve those. I hope everyone else's memory is better than mine, but I do recall reading them. They seemed like they were okay, but does anybody recall any additions or corrections that need to be made to the October minutes? Those are good. So, do I have a motion to approve the October minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
Okay. Motion, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
October minutes are approved. Now, we have the, if I can find them, we have the November minutes in front of us.
Make a motion to approve the November minutes as written.
Have a motion to approve the November minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in
Kinda
favor
hard
say
for us
aye.
to screw this up, Bob.
Pardon me?
It's hard for us to screw this up.
We're moving Tim Smith's speed here. But all in favor of approving the November minutes, say aye. That's done. So now we're down to maybe a little more nitty-gritty. Under old business, we have reports. First report is on Main Street Phase 2. John here, or?
He's out.
Pardon me?
He's not here today, and he said he didn't have anything to report. Did you hear me?
Yes, you want to do those reports, or we're going to wait till the next meeting, or?
He doesn't have any updates.
The only update I can tell you is, with the tree removal, there's a couple parcels they're still waiting on to get a temporary right of way or whatever, but sometime after the first of the year, I think you guys awarded it to Wabash, the tree removal, so it'll start after first of the year.
Anything from Phase 3, or that's pretty much? Okay. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Bob, I'll report that the water main relocation project, which is part of the Phase 2 renovation there, has been put out for bid. We'll accept those bids. The USB will be taking those bids back in on January 12th. So we're well underway to get started with that here in the spring, ahead of the construction of Phase 2.
Thank you for that update. Any other old business? Let's move on to,
Do we have?
well, no, we got the residential TIF, yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. We have the residential TIF projects, reports on those. We have anybody here from RIM? But
Nope.
so we'll move on to SureClean, the Broadway Place project.
Good morning. Just give you an update of where we're at. We are working on infrastructure in the Broadway subdivision there. We've got our retention pond pretty much in. We're putting storm and sewer in at the moment. If the weather keeps cooperating like it has been, we're planning on moving right with concrete as soon as we get it done. So we've been working with Stan and getting the sewer lines put in, and it's moving right along.
Questions or comments?
Thank you.
Good to see the progress taking place. So thank you for that update. Now we're ready for a new business, and I understand we have a proposal or Mr. Memmering, we received this, and I'll just turn this over to him.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a little bit of background. I represent 14 family members in the Memmering family. There was a partnership set up, and so I have another sister, lives in New Jersey, and then I have my 2 children are part of it, nieces and nephews scattered all over the country, essentially. So this partnership's been in effect for 20 plus years. The ground's just been there, and I'll have to say when you started, you asked for proposals for development, which ended up being the SureClean. And first off, you were looking for, at that time, you were looking for developers and builders, kind of the combination that would build and develop. And you know, I'm retired, so that's not me anymore. So I didn't pay a lot of attention, truthfully. But then when just this, I think over the summer, you know, you started looking at other things, other proposals, kind of soliciting for infrastructure. And I thought, well, you know, this kind of fits our alley a little bit more. So I began to look at our 8 acres. I drew you have a sketch of a 16 lot subdivision. I drew one that was 12 lots, and I looked at it and the size and, you know, what I thought maybe they might be worth. And I decided, well, hey, we can't make this work. and try to build sell lots that are for affordable housing. So went back to work, and I've worked some with John Sprague on cost, but so came up with this 16 lot subdivision. And John Sprague has developed some preliminary costs. And I might say that, you know, there's a possibility we might make one with the 17th lot. And we're looking at that. That would entail, instead of basically we set aside almost a lot for stormwater retention, what we're looking at is maybe putting the retention along US 41, along that right of way. And then we would be able to use that lot. We'd have to rearrange somewhat, certainly, but then we could get maybe a 17th lot. So, so that's kind of how we came into the picture here. You know, my initial thought and what I kind of have proposed in there, and I'll give an example. Let's say you would magnanimously say we'll fund the infrastructure. I know that's not going to happen, but let's say you did. We had an appraisal done and appraised that 8 acres, kind of as is, at $150,000 for that 8 acres. So my proposal, thankfully that's not me, my proposal kind of is, if that were the case, I would sell lots, affordable lots at $150,000 divided by 16 or 17 lots. That would be under $10,000 a lot, and I realize that's not going to happen. But whatever you will offer to fund, if you do offer to fund anything, that would come off of essentially a market price. So whatever we would be left with expenses would add on to that $150,000 and then make lots. I'm not saying I'm the most community-minded person here, but that would be I think a community-minded effort. When the housing study came out, and I read it in the paper, but I didn't dive into it deeply, but I've since had a copy of it, and it talks about, of course, the affordability is the emphasis of the whole study. So, again, we're trying to work toward, affordability in it talks about 100 to 300,000. Well, I don't think anyone can build a $100,000 house anymore on a lot. I think those days are long gone. But maybe 150 can be achieved. I'm not sure about that. But maybe 175. I don't know. It's a tough. That lower to mid-range market is the toughest market. You have more things can go wrong, less margins. It's a tough market. But anyway, that's kind of my proposal. I think I gave you all copies of the. It's not an official plat. It's just my sketch at this point. I gave you a copy. I believe everyone has a copy of the appraisal on the 8 acres. I have a couple of extra copies of the sketch here. If anyone wants them, Mayor or whatever. You have one? Okay. So, I would entertain questions, certainly.
Questions, comments from board members?
Jerry, I like the proposal. I've read over it, and everything in it, I think, makes a lot of sense. Only concern, and I talked to you about this before the meeting and that too, is and this is something that this board does not have control over, is the complete streets ordinance that's out there and that. And, here recently, we've had a couple other requests and that too, and we told them that we would not, deny that or waive that, ordinance that was out there. Sure Clean, when they did theirs, we required that to be part of that. So that's one thing that, that's not our control.
I
mean,
understand.
The ordinance was put in place for a reason, and that reason, whether we waive it, if we're gonna waive it, why have the ordinance is kind of my
Okay.
thoughts on that. But that's a city council.
I understand.
Call on that, but that's the only part of the whole proposal that, and it's not because of what it is, it's because how do we determine who we're gonna say, yes, you have to do it, and who does not have to do it, so.
I-
That's the only part of it.
I understand completely. And if I were on premise back there and, you know, ends up that this is waived, I'd want to shoot somebody, probably, if I were him. And this is, again, an indictment of me somewhat. Until we got started down this process, I was not aware of that complete streets ordinance. And that's, you know, that's bad on my part. My initial thought, in particularly in the light of this emphasis on trying to get affordable housing to draw, you know, so our working people can live in Vincennes.
Right.
But my initial thought is that street ordinance is a well-intended ordinance that has unintended consequences, particularly, again, in light of the affordability issue. So, I mean, I will attempt to waive it in another. I would even urge the council to revisit the ordinance. Now, you know, I'm not a councilman. I haven't been to a council meeting in, I can't tell you when. So I'm out of my lane here completely. I understand that, Mayor. I certainly do, but I personally think affordability and building to the complete streets ordinance can't be said in the same sentence. That's my personal view. So, and I know we're a long way from crossing those bridges, but
Jerry, first of all, I commend you and I appreciate you bringing this proposal forward, and I hope that there is an opportunity that the RDC can work with you just as we've worked with many others. If the complete street ordinance, if something doesn't happen with it, or it's waived, or whatever the case may be, where do you see your project going if the complete ordinance?
well,
or complete
let's
streets stays in
two scenarios. Let's say that the council and mayor, the way I got a copy of the ordinance, and the way I read it, exceptions are Board of Works issue. Is that? Okay. Okay, if you would, Cheryl printed me a copy, and I.
And the only reason I say it's because I remember the council person that asked for that.
Okay, well, I may have missed that. So, but let's say, all right, let's say that the council would waive that for us. Well, then I would say, well, if the council's okay with it, why would you not be okay with it? Now, that would be, again, from my viewpoint. The other alternative, if the council, you know, says no, that's not going to happen. Well, then it depends on how much funding you would grant, if you grant any at all. I'm not presuming anything. But I can't sit here and say that, you know, that a subdivision, proposed subdivision would be built in that case. I can't say that. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen either. It's just, it would be up in the air.
I think that is something that we will have to take under advisement too with Reedy as well, because we're gonna have to see the overall proposal, what it would take, and how it fits in the budgeted funds that we
Sure,
have as well
sure.
too.
I also think it's a very strong proposal and well documented, and appreciate the motivation behind it. As far as affordable housing, you know, we all know we're desperately in need of that, but yeah, there are these issues that political issues with the
Sure.
ordinance, and so we'll have to see how creative we can be and how that process might unfold. Also, on the surface, you know, the funding, my math is always suspect, but, you know, for support around 22,000 per home, you know, I mean, for $22,000, that we would get 17, eventually 17 affordable houses.
16 or 17.
Yeah,
looks
so,
like.
yeah, so, but, long-term, I think that'll all come back to us, plus. But another issue we have is just short-term right now, in our cash flow and our financing. So we'd also have to address those short-term challenges, and along with the ordinance. And we're also talking to the mayor about it. You know, we may have other partners out there. We have the Ready Grant, and there's some possibilities that might present, along with, you know, what we do. So I think it's a great proposal, but we're table this, or we're gonna, what do you think we should do specifically?
I think we need to table it for at least next month, and that way we will be able to let Reedy know exactly put the numbers in,
Yeah.
see how it figures out, see what.
Sure, understand.
How we could fund it, if we could fund it in that, and that gives us a chance to kind of work out some of these.
And
details too.
and I'm assuming some things that maybe I shouldn't have, you know, if there's a figure out there, and again, I think, you know, the estimates are high, John Sprague's estimates, they're kind, he developed those kind of at NDOT, the way NDOT does it, and I think we can certainly do it for less, but I'm assuming you would reimburse paid invoices, is that right? So if costs come in less, well then that would just come off the top of whatever commitment you would make. Wouldn't that be the way this would work? Okay,
Yeah. Invoices are reimbursed,
yes,
so.
paid invoices,
Yeah.
okay? Okay. A little note on, I said we would, you know, kind of one preference would be to sell to potential homeowners at that lot price. But if we did that, and I think it's in the, you know, my application, that, you know, I wouldn't sell to anyone that's gonna build it themselves. They'd have to have a, you know, a reputable builder in line to build a home. Or I would sell to a home builder or builder, as long as, you know, we could develop assurances of some kind that were, where the lot price, when they work with a buyer, that lot price would not be upcharged. So we'd have to, you know, work on those issues, but that's kind of the gist of the proposal.
I know you're trying to be flexible, and I hope we can do the same thing, you know, within the limitations that we have, but appreciate that. So table until the next meeting, and
Okay.
in the meantime, get Reedy to look at this, and other players
Okay.
involved in the process.
The only thing that I would ask back, and you all keep those appraisals for as long as you need, but eventually I'd like to have those back. I may need them for, for someone else, please. Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Do we need a motion to table it? Is that,
Yeah, I think
okay, so,
make a motion to table this until next month. It gives us time to send the financials to Reeves to have them put it in our package.
okay, so we have a motion to table, have a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So it's tabled till next month with the conditions that were mentioned. Thank you. Next, we move to the approval of claims. And I understand there are some alterations.
Yeah, excuse me,
Cheryl,
as
would you like to
compared
speak
to
to
what
those?
you were sent out, after the financial report was completed and sent to me from Reedy, John Sprague did have to go to the courthouse to record some of the right-of-way purchases for Main Street. So, we went ahead and added it onto the claim so that can get taken care of and get paid. So your actual new claim total is $281,598.60. And then those will show up, those two claims, $725 will show up in next month's financial report, but you won't have a claim for them in January.
I'll make a motion that we approve the monthly claims in the amount of $281,598.60.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have a second to approve the claims? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The claims are approved. Moving now to RDC member miscellaneous. Do either of you have anything you would like to bring before the board? I'm going to recognize myself and ask for your indulgence to read a letter that I submitted on October the 26th, 2021 to our mayor, and it's a fairly short letter. I could have written page after page, but I restrained myself. Anyway, Joe Yoakum, Mayor, Vincennes, Indiana. Dear Joe, effective January the 1st, 2022, I'm stepping down as a member of the Vincennes Redevelopment Corporation Board. I look back on my years of service on the board with great satisfaction and feelings of accomplishment. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to hopefully give something back to our great community. It's been very rewarding to work with you and my outstanding RDC board colleagues. The Vincennes community is indeed fortunate to have such high-quality individuals serving on the RDC board, working so effectively to promote jobs and economic growth in this community. The progress the city is making on so many fronts is clearly visible, quote, to anyone who has eyes to see, unquote. I also appreciate your leadership and strategic direction and the support and professionalism of the dedicated city employees who contribute so much to the RDC's ongoing work. Also key to the RDC success has been the contribution of so many business, community, and political leaders who have partnered with the RDC in a wide variety of projects and relationships. I will very much miss serving on the RDC board, but I've reached a point in my life in which I believe I should step aside and allow a new person to bring new energy and fresh thinking to the board. On the sidelines, I will be eagerly following and cheering on the RDC's continuing efforts to revitalize and improve the quality of life in our wonderful community. So, thank you very much, and I hope the letter speaks for itself.
And I just want to say thank you to you, Bob. You've been here 9 years and 3 months, And I know that you can look back over that time and see all the improvements that have been made, that you've been a part of. You've invested in a levee. You look at Kimmel Road Extension, Main Street, Dixie Orchard Drive, and you look at the development out there that has been made possible because of all that work. So I greatly appreciate your commitment to this board and
Thank you.
wish you well.
Appreciate the great board members, and I know a lot of exciting things are on the horizon. We just heard one tonight, and there are others, and with this strategic direction of moving into housing, trying to
Right.
do more to develop affordable housing in this community. I think there's a strong consensus on that, and I think it's exciting to see the progress that has been made and will be made. So congratulations to everyone involved.
Bob, I appreciate having the opportunity to work with you for many years, most of my years, and time spent as the non-voting member, and you were my seatmate down at this other end, and your passion and enthusiasm for this community radiates. And I think one of the things that has most impressed me as I've gotten to know you over the last several years is the depth of questioning when people come before this board, and you are a very thoughtful person, but with that thoughtful pattern in your mind of what is best for this community, because you have so much pride. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I want to echo that too. Your analytical mind is there, and you seem to ask the tough question that everyone wants to ask, but maybe is a little afraid to ask, and you do ask that question and get answers, and your guidance has really helped me my short time on the board.
Well, thank you, Steve, and I know we've had good discussions. We don't always agree on everything, but it's been harmonious. And I think, looking at the greater good has been the hallmark of, I think, of the RDC. And I'd like to see a little more of that in Vincennes, wouldn't you? So anyway, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
So,
Well, I guess you wanted to go out the bang, getting to run the meeting.
so is my last official act.
Wait, we gotta set next
A motion
meeting.
to adjourn.
We've gotta set the next
Oh, we gotta set
meeting.
next meeting. Well, I won't be.
I know, you won't be here,
I'm
but
not gonna worry about it, but I presume the same.
the rest of the players might wanna know. The next meeting will be January 20th of 2022.
Okay, thank you. Now, can I exercise all this power I have? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys very much.
Sometime we can get down.
That's all I need to sign.
That's all you need on that one. And then Bob's share acting president, you'll have to go through and sign all the actual.
Do I have to forge Tim's signature, or I'll just go ahead and play it? Okay, just sign here, okay.
So you acquire it soon, and you keep track of those costs. And then we enter into an agreement with the utility services.
Not that one, okay. What's this, where it says president? I need to follow directions.